Have you ever laid awake at night? Your mind just racing with what ifs? What if this thing don't work out? What if I'm not enough? What if I never make it? Right? Worry. It can feel like an uninvited guest at times, right? That just never leaves, right? But what if I told you there's a way? There's a way to quiet that noise and find peace. Now, not by trying to fix everything because we can't fix everything, right? But by trusting the one who can. In this video, I'm going to go over 3 things with you that I want you to start implementing when you find yourself in a season of worrying. Let's hop right in. The first thing I want you to recognize is, what season am I in? Okay? Because when we are walking this journey, we find ourselves in different seasons, right? At different times in our lives. And right when we think we've gotten over something, sometimes it can return back. And it could be exactly the same, or it could come in a different form, okay? Or maybe even through somebody that is closest to us, and we're trying to work that thing out with them, okay? But it's very important that we recognize the season that we're in. For example, a lot of people right now are dealing with career changes, okay? Unfortunately, I've seen a lot where people are being laid off, okay? So that affects their finances, their sense of security, okay? Some of us are dealing with family dynamics, right? Our family dynamics have just changed. For instance, I'm an empty nester, right? That was a monumental moment in my life, but it was also changed. You know, it changed a lot in my life. Coming from being a single mother and always having to care for those 4 children, and then one day I didn't. Okay, and that was an adjustment for me as well. Uh, and then maybe, I mean, we're at this age now for those of us who have hit that 50 mark, right? I'm right at the cusp of it. Okay, um, going on 49. So some of us caring for our parents, elderly. Okay, depending on where you are in your life, and or maybe your parents are sick and you're caring for your parent. My mom passed away soon to be 8 years ago, this coming March, and she had a bout with cancer twice, and each time, you know, my siblings and I, we had to be there for her. Okay, and that was a rough time in my life, a rough season, because I spent a lot of time away from home. I spent a lot of time away from my husband, so that I can be there to take care of my mother. I even took time off work. So that was a strain, right? A financial strain. That was a source of income that we once relied on that we didn't, right? Because FMLA don't pay you. It just secures your job, okay? So, you know, we have different seasons that we're dealing with in our lives, right? And so maybe that's what you're dealing with, and it brings up a lot of worrying in your life. The next one is the dealing with grown children, right? Now that my children are grown, when they were small, I couldn't wait for them to get there, right? Because the financial burden is what I was really ready to get rid of. But if you have adult children, then you realize that, you know, when they're young, they're always on your mind. But when they become adults, they're always on your heart, and that weighs a lot different for you when they're on your heart all the time, because um, after they hit 18, you're done raising them. Whatever you didn't do, hey, it's water under the bridge. Okay, you put it in God's hand at that point. And once they're adults, the only thing you can do is give them advice when they're willing to listen, and to pray for them, right? Put them in God's hand. Scripture said to train them up in a way that they should go, so that when they get old, they won't depart. Okay. And so if you've done that, then you have to trust that just like God sought you out, just like God pursued us, he will do the same for our children. Okay. And sometimes it just may not come through us. Sometimes the best thing we can do is just pray and say, Lord, can you send somebody? Can you send somebody that can meet them where they are and speak to them and encourage them. And they probably gonna tell them some of the same stuff we already told them, right? But we're just sowing seeds. When they're adults, that's all we can do. Encourage them and continue to keep them in the Lord's hand. Um, and so once you recognize what stage you are in your life, right? Again, these shifts, they can feel overwhelming, right? But we got to remember that God is with us in every role, okay, that we've been called to stand in. Every trial we've been called into. Because I truly believe that when you belong to God, that there's nothing, even though the enemy is seeking and walking around to see who he can devour, okay, there is nothing that the enemy can do to God's chosen people. Okay, he has to get permission. Go read the book of Job. Okay, the enemy walked around seeing who he could devour, and God said, when the devil went to go before God to give an account for what he was doing, and he said, I've just been walking to and fro to see who I can devour. And he said, well, have you tried my faithful servant Job? Go read it. It's mind blowing. Okay. So I really believe that no matter where we are and what role we play in these issues that may arise in our life, okay, that God is with us, okay? God is with us, and he said he would never leave us and he would never forsake us, okay? For some of us, it's financial burdens, right? We're living paycheck to paycheck. I've been there, okay? Um, Everything is going up but our paychecks, right? All right. So once you have recognized where you are, the second thing I want you to do is replace that worry with God's truth. I want you to find some scripture and I want you to meditate on those scriptures, okay? And instead of dwelling on the what ifs, because there's always going to be some what ifs, right? Instead of dwelling on what if I fail, I want you to replace that thought with scripture, okay? Such as in Philippians 4 and 13, okay? It says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, okay? Speaking truth over your worries, man, look, they're going to help you rewire how you think, okay? It's going to rewire you how you think, and it's going to make you start relying on God more. And that's going to increase your faith in God. Trust me, okay? The next thing is it's going to give you gratitude, okay? You're going to learn how to practice that, okay? So when anxiety starts to creep in about the future, about those things that you're worried about, I want you to pause, okay? And I want you to get in the habit, even if it's just mentally. If you're in a place where you may be working and you can't write it down, maybe you find yourself in the middle of the night and the enemy just want to remind you, right, about your insufficiencies, okay? I want you to write down or either take a mental pause, and I want you to list 3 things that you're grateful for in spite of that thing that you're worried about. Okay? You would be surprised how doing this simple thing, how it shift your focus on what you're lacking and on how great your God is. Oh, do you hear me? I'm telling you, it's going to switch your focus, okay? And you're going to start to remember what God has already done for you, okay? And how he's a mighty God. He's a faithful God, okay? He said he would never leave you and he would never forsake you, okay? And that he knows the plans that he has for you, okay? I want you to start practicing that, even if it's just mentally. What has God already done? Because I just want you to remember the same God back then is the same God right now, all right? The third thing is living with purpose and peace, okay? I want you to understand how important it is that we not allow anything to rob us of our peace. We got to learn how to trust God with all the uncertainties that we deal with. Now, you might not have all the answers about your future, but trusting God is going to bring you peace beyond your understanding, okay? It will have you stepping out into faith even when you're in the unknown. My pastor just said this past Sunday, we've been looking at the book of Ruth, and he said you could be standing in the middle of failure and fulfillment at the same time. Okay? Ruth, she stepped into the unknown, leaving her hometown, following her mother-in-law Naomi. And God, what did he do? Ooh, he wooed her story together, right? He molded and shaped that together just by her being faithful and just stepping out in spite of her fear. And he shaped it into a greater plan. Okay? Let me tell you this. I can't say enough. Let go of control. Most of the time, our worrying, it often comes because we're trying to control the outcome. We want to control the narrative because we're worried about what other people think, right? Forget them people. They got their own cross to bear. They ain't got a heaven or hell to put you in. But when you release control and just trust God, you get a freedom and a peace that passes all understanding. Imagine just trying to like hold on tightly to a rope. You straining, trying to hold on to it, right? And then you finally just say, here, take the rope, right? And the minute you let go, the tension that you had, it just stops. That's what it's like when we trust God. When we begin to just let go and let God. If this video blessed you or touched you in any way, leave me a message in the comments. Let me know. How you dealing with your stress? How you dealing with worrying? Is it overcoming you? Or have you learned how to conquer it? Put me a message in the chat. Click the video link to the next video, and I'll see you over there. God bless you.